exploring the subtle sphere, the vital sphere, the sphere of energy, the sphere of beings and supernatural abilities. How to safely navigate this. Hello, this is Shores of Infinity with your host Chris speaking. Today a video about how to safely navigate the subtle sphere, the subtle world. And my laptop makes strange noises again, sorry. Okay, so at some point on your spiritual journey, you will get into contact with the subtle or vital world. What is this? This is the world of energy. Usually we only perceive the world of matter, or only consciously perceive it. As children we can perceive the subtle world as well, but we get told this is only imagination, don't be crazy, don't believe this shit. So at some point we stop believing this, and then we're separate, more or less separate from the subtle world, which should be, of course, the vital world, which is the world of energy, supernatural abilities, beings, invisible beings and stuff like that. Scary shit, yeah? Horror movie shit. Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan stuff. So how to safely navigate this? Because we don't want to stay in the subtle world. Always remember our aim is the mental world and the supramental world. We don't want to stay in the subtle world. The subtle world is a distraction. It's as much false as the gross world is false, in the sense that it's mostly illusion. It's mostly, it's distraction. It's only a tiny aspect of reality. What we need on the way to enlightenment is to perceive as much of reality as possible, not just a little speck. If we grope around in the gross world, it's like walking around and only looking at the floor in front of you. Once you enter the subtle world, you look up and you see all the plants and the sky and whatnot. The mental world would be akin to flying around and to see the world from above, like a pilot or astronaut. And the supramental world would be to explore other planets and galaxies and solar systems. Just as a comparison, it's not that, of course. It's just in magnitude, yeah? What we want is magnitude, a bird's eye view, an astronaut view. We don't want to only see what is in front of us. So the subtle world is already, according to Meher Baba, 4 times as large as the gross world. So it's easy to get lost in there. What we don't want is to get lost in there. We want to go through the subtle world to the mental world, to really use the higher faculties of the mind for what they were meant. Right now we are only using lower faculties of the mind, like the sense mind. This is only a tiny aspect of what the mind is capable of, or you can also call it something else. I usually call it something else, not the mind. But okay. So, use the exploration of the subtle world to improve your health. Your physical and psychological health. That's the best thing you can do with it. Live as healthily as possible. There's a reason why Sri Aurobindo calls it the vital world. The vital world is the world of life force. Yeah? Matter is the gross world. Life is the vital, the subtle world. So you can really do something with your health here. That is why also all systems of so-called energy healing, Reiki, Theta healing, mind flow, prana healing, chakra healing, and so on, those are all techniques from the subtle world. This can also be an interesting exercise to learn one of those. I recommend Theta healing in general, although what usually happens if people learn Theta healing is they become crazy megalomaniacs because they don't understand the principle. It's not you doing the healing. You order Maya to do the healing. It's not you who is doing it. But many people who are doing Reiki or healing hands, like Barbara Brennan or what's her name, Theta Healing Mind Flow and whatever, they think after a while they are doing the healing. They're not. They're just the medium, the facilitator. So it's very, very easy in the subtle world, just as it was in the gross world, to boost your ego. All these siddhis that can be gifted to you in the subtle world, they're distractions. Don't use them. Move on. Don't train any siddhis. Only if you're very, very mentally stable and you don't feel any ego anymore, if there's no thought anymore, no thought and emotion happening inside of you, then it's safe to use siddhis. If you can do this Wu Wei thing the Chinese talk about, if you have no goal, no wish, no agenda, because there's no ego, there's no thought, you're only in the present moment, like Eckhart Tolle describes, only then it is safe to use siddhis. Otherwise, don't use them, even if you get some. And don't try to learn any, it's a waste of time. And even more importantly, don't mess around with beings. Don't invite any beings, don't make any pacts with any beings. Just go away, walk away if you meet any. You will come into spooky situations. This is one of the reasons schizophrenia, for example, is a psychological disease. That's how we call it in the gross world. And no one knows how to cure it, and no one knows exactly what it is. There are lots of theories, but there's no real knowledge about it. One of the things that happen in schizophrenia is there's an uncontrolled opening to the subtle world. So they perceive all kinds of weird shit and think it's real. And it is real in the subtle world, not in the gross world. In the gross world, it's an illusion, a hallucination, a paranoia, or whatever. In the subtle world, there is some reality to it. And ignore it. The main reason why in the last thousands of years traditions insisted that you need a teacher in spirituality is the subtle world, the vital world, because you can easily get lost there and misunderstand things, get into contact with beings and don't know how to deal with them, don't know how to get rid of them anymore, and whatever. Yeah, that's another a good thing to learn, is how to get rid of beings. It's a good skill to learn. Another danger of the subtle world is to become religious. Religion is another path. There are some people who can walk the religious path and the spiritual path parallelly, simultaneously, but this is an exception. This is usually, for most people, this is not possible. They get stuck in some kind of religion or quasi-religion or cult or sect or whatever, and then you're screwed. Yeah, also these gods and goddesses from the stories, they're all part of the subtle world or astral world or whatever you want to call it. Don't mess around with beings, even if they're gods. Sometimes people contact me and ask, there's this being contacting me, says he or she is a god or goddess, and I am chosen to do this and that, and if I follow this exactly, these steps and so on. Yes, this is a trap. This is a very, very common trap. Don't ever believe anything where you say you're the chosen one. That's 100% trap. It's never true. And these beings are usually not gods or goddesses. Would you go swimming with sharks? Probably not. Usually nothing happens if you swim with sharks, because you're not on the menu. You're not the thing that sharks usually want to eat. But Maybe one of them takes a test bite and then they all get into a blood frenzy and rip you to pieces. That is why most people don't like to swim with sharks, unless they're divers and they know these kind of sharks, they're not so dangerous and whatnot. Or they're very experienced divers. If you're an unexperienced diver or swimmer and you go to swim with sharks, it's very likely that you get hurt or killed. It's the same with fucking around with beings. Just leave them be. It's not your element. The subtle sphere is the element of these beings. They know very well how to navigate in there. You don't know shit, probably, so just leave them be. Don't swim with sharks. So, no siddhis, no beings. Just keep on moving. Watch the Star Wars movies, the 6 Star Wars movies. Yeah? This is the difference between the Jedi and the Sith. Both of them learn supernatural abilities. But one needs, the Jedis, they need and learn how to control themselves. Where the Sith, they act from rage and revenge and so on. This is how you get stuck. A lot of people on the spiritual path, they were traumatized or they were bullied or whatever in their childhood. And there's a part of you, there's a part in you, a hurt inner child who wants to take revenge. As long as you have this one, don't go into cities. Just use the time to do some trauma therapy and appease these parts of you that in you that want revenge. If you want to learn a subtle skill, then learn some healing method, like homeopathy or energy healing or so. But be very careful, the energy healing part, be very careful to not become a megalomaniac. It's not you doing the healing, you're just the facilitator. Same with psychology. Psychology is also a vital healing method. And it can be misused. A lot of psychologists are very manipulative. Also, a lot of psychologists are psychologists because they themselves are quite crazy. And they usually haven't solved their own shit yet. So that's not the way to go. But it's okay to learn it, to heal your own stuff. You don't have to become a professional healer and try to cure others. But it's a good skill to learn, to have. It's very similar to a siddhi, but it's not. Then there's calibration, of course. Calibration is also a sort of siddhi. It's also a skill from the subtle world to calibrate the Hawkins scale or the finder's location or spell dynamics, colors. That's all possible to do with calibration, how Hawkins describes it, or in Subud you also have this. It's also nice to learn, but again, it can easily lead to megalomania. So all these skills are only useful and helpful and make sense if you already don't have an ego anymore, or if that ego is not in the driver's seat. And the first prerequisite is to have a quiet mind. As long as your mind is still talking, leave all the siddhis. As long as you're still troubled by trauma, psychological issues like depression, schizophrenia, whatever, leave the siddhis be. Don't even start with it. Also not with what I said with calibration or healing methods. It's not right for you now, maybe later. First, do some healing. The vital sphere is the sphere of life. Do some healing. Live healthily. Eat healthily. Take care of your temple. Your body is your temple. Do some Qigong or Hatha Yoga or Pranayama or other exercises that are good both for your body and your energetical system. Learn some martial art, for example. Not sports, art. Or even self-defense, to boost your self-confidence. These are good things to do, and this can also lead you to the through the vital, the subtle sphere. You don't to make pacts with beings and to learn siddhis and stuff like that is not the only way to navigate the vital sphere. It's the most dangerous way. It's the most fun way, but it's the most dangerous way. You may like horror movies, but you probably don't want to be in that scenario. You want to watch it, but you don't want to be the one who runs away from zombies. So don't do it. Don't go into it. Take care of your health. That's the most important thing. And if you run into strange things, don't take them seriously. Just walk on. If you have prophetic dreams, for example, that often happens, something coincidences and stuff like that. The telephone rings and you know who it is, and you dream something that becomes true and whatnot. Don't worry, just go on. Go on. Whatever you perceive, don't make a big deal out of it. Just keep walking. It's all distraction. It's all just a big mirror hall. It's the fun fair. It's the Oktoberfest, whatever you want to call it. The big thing with all kinds of attractions. Old and new, very strange, a circus. Keep walking. Take care of your health. That's the way, that's a safe way to navigate the subtle, the vital sphere. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Give the video a thumbs up so that other people can find it. Thank you for joining me on Patreon, and thank you very much for all those who have already joined me on Patreon and who are supporting this channel. Thank you very much.